Welcome back to another live Reacts video. I'm your host, Tom Quiet from Live and Amplified. Today, it's a very special React day. This is a Tuesday React video, which we don't normally do Tuesday React videos, but I was perusing the internet over the weekend and I found a video by a tour manager that was at the Blue Ridge Rock Festival. And I'd been hearing a lot of mixed reports about that festival, how it was a shit show and all this stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to watch this video and see what this guy has to say. So let's get that rolling.
So this might make for an interesting video because, to be honest, I was not planning on doing any content while I was on tour. I think at this point, it's no secret to anybody that I am currently on tour with Electric Callboy. I'm tour managing the Techno World Tour in North America.
Nice.
We just finished 4 shows in a row, and I'm finally on a day off. We're in Boston. We're sitting in a hotel room, and like I said, I wasn't originally going to film content, but something happened at our first show of this little run of 4 days
insane.
When we were at Blue Ridge Rock Festival, and by now, I'm sure everybody that's into rock and metal that's been on the internet has heard about what's going on, and
see, so I'm kind of in the dark on this because I haven't really been paying
and
attention, so I'm kind of interested to see
originally I wasn't going
what's
to
going on.
because it's a weird spot to be in the music industry when stuff like this happens. Nobody wants to speak out and burn bridges and stuff like that. But after seeing what some of the fans were saying about this is just one of those moments where I feel like when stuff like this happens, people need to be held accountable. I mean, I honestly just want to share my experience. Before I really dive into anything, I do just want to preface this by saying everything in this video is my opinion. This is my experience when we were there. This is my opinion. Do not hold anything I say to or like it's the same opinion that Electric Callboy or their crew has. If they want to speak about it, they can. If any of the other bands want to speak about it, they can. This is just everything from me. I do not plan on editing this video. This is going to be just a sit here and talk kind of video. So let's get into this. Blue Ridge Rock Festival is held in Alton, Virginia. One of the major festivals that people are really, looking forward to every year because it always has a really good, sick, killer lineup. I was especially looking forward to this one. I thought it was going to be really good. The day that we were there had a killer lineup. I was excited to see some friends and stuff like that. So I'm going to walk you through the entire process of what happened and what I saw with my own eyes, and kind of even from a production standpoint, tell you how this works. The way that I tour manage is that a month in advance from every show, I advance shows with production managers. And what that means is I reach out to them. I talk to them about every aspect of the show production wise, what's going on at their location, what kind of setup they have, what they're going to do for parking the buses, loading the gear, hospitality backstage, where the dressing room is going to be. Every little thing about a show, I talk to production managers ahead of time. I also tell them what we're going to have, what kind of gear, what kind of power we need, how many people, how many buses, every little single detail. No band goes into a show on a professional level just walking in with stuff and being like, hey, we're here, and figuring it out, because there's too much detail involved. So a month before Blue Ridge Rock Fest, I advanced with their production manager for the festival, went over everything. I sent them our touring documents. We have an entire rider with everything that we're going to be carrying. It goes from gear to who's traveling with us, how many crew people we have, what we need for power, what we need for space, stuff like that. So they had all of our information ahead of time. Not only that, but they give me their tech specs as well. So I knew exactly what we were going to have at Blue Ridge Rock Fest. I knew what things were going to be. And I also do phone calls with people. And for Blue Ridge Rock Fest, I specifically did 2 different phone calls, one with a production manager, one with the head of artist relations that's in charge of like transportation back and forth, hospitality, parking, all that stuff. So it's not like we didn't communicate. I've talked to these guys multiple times, and even a week before shows, I reach out again just to make sure that nothing has changed. So going into Blue Ridge Rock Fest, we had a plan. We were told where we were going to park the buses. We were aware that we were going to be cross-loading to the stage. We knew our set times. We pretty much knew everything. We knew what power was going to be. Like, you get the point. It's everything. So we roll into Blue Ridge Rock Fest. We were there on the Friday. Was that the 9th? I think the 9th. Sorry, my days are really messed up. And I know a lot of people saw on the 8th, the Thursday, they had some crazy weather. I saw videos from friends that were there that it looked like a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. So I expected the grounds to be kind of wet, things to be a little disorganized, but I had no idea how it was going to be. So we showed up there at about 9:30, 10 in the morning, and I was originally told we were going to park our buses at the artist compound. I checked in at Artist Relations, and I started texting the people that I was supposed to text when I got there. And very quickly it realized like nobody really knew what was going on. I started getting texts from like 6 different people that were in charge of different things, and we were kind of hanging out for like an hour before anybody really knew what was happening. Got a hold of the people that were in charge of transporting people back and forth, because where we were supposed to park was a good bit away from the stage. But they told us that they were going to have shuttles, golf carts, running people back and forth all day. It was going to be no big issue. It was kind of difficult to find somebody to get band members back to the dressing rooms, but I finally got that lined up, and the band went back to the dressing rooms while I stayed with the buses trying to figure out what was going on. Well, after about an hour and a half of sitting there with nobody telling us what was going on, I had to make the decision to get our bus drivers to a hotel, because bus drivers need to sleep. And we had a show a very long distance the next day. We had to go from there to Pittsburgh. So I told the people that seemed to be in charge, like, hey, we got to park our buses because I have to get our drivers sleep. So I made the decision that I wanted to park our buses at artist check-in, which was like at the main entrance of the festival. It wasn't in the artist compound or anything like that. They finally told me it was fine. So we did that. And I sent our drivers to a hotel with the runner from the festival. That was like the one thing all day that actually seemed to be set up, was transportation for our drivers. So I told our crew, like, hey, you guys know we're going to have to cross load. So I'm going to go down to the stage and see how the dressing rooms are. After waiting for about 30 minutes, I finally got a run down to the stage, and upon getting to the stage, I saw the backstage area, which was, pretty small, but no big deal. Like, not complaining about that, but the trailer that the band was put in for, their dressing room, had no working AC. They were like, sorry, the air conditioning broke. We're going to try and get somebody to fix it.
So fucked.
And it was in the 90s that day. I mean, it was super hot, so it was kind of miserable. And the band had already told me after being there for 10 minutes, it was a sweat box. So they were all just sitting outside under a tent, waiting to figure out what was going on. So while I was working out stuff with them, I started hearing from our production manager about how we needed to cross load. And again, it seemed like nobody at the festival knew what was going on. I was texting and calling people like, hey, I need a flatbed truck up at our buses to load all of our gear. We need a forklift for our video carts that we're using. And the same answer that I got every day, all day long, was just like, yeah, we got somebody on it. Like, we got somebody working on it. Cool, whatever. We didn't get our first flatbed to our buses until about 2 p.m., which, to be fair, was the scheduled load-in time they gave us, was about 2 p.m. But they told us to drop our trailer doors at about noon and start getting stuff out. There were no stagehands when we started unloading our trailer at all. I helped our crew unload, and we got everything out in the parking lot, just sitting in a gravel dirt parking lot. Pulled everything out, sat there waiting. At some point, I had to go back to the stage again just to make sure that the band was doing okay. I was told that they were going to bring a fan into the dressing room, and a air fan, not like a fan of the show. Was told that they were going to bring a fan in there because the AC didn't work. Never got that fan, never showed up. At this point, the band was still just sitting outside, like behind the stage with nothing really going on. Catering for lunch was pretty much non-existent at all. I was told that because of the storm the night before, that catering was all unorganized and they didn't really know what was going on.
That's not good.
And then there was like barely any water backstage. There was no hospitality in the dressing rooms. And I know that sounds like a diva thing, but it's like, these are the things that are advanced. It's like, we need water backstage for people that are hanging out. We need drinks and snacks or something, food of some sort. And there really wasn't anything going on. And at one point, I did go back up top to where our buses were. because they finally had a flatbed up there, but there was no forklift to get our stuff up there. The one stagehand that they tried to send up there disappeared. It was so unorganized and unprofessional. And then on top of all that, we had media going on that day for the band. So I had to just keep going back and forth. And where our buses were was like at least 1.5 miles away from the stage. So every time somebody needed to get to the stage, we needed to call a golf cart to take us down there, which again was taking 30 to 45 minutes to just get somebody to send one up there because it seemed like they didn't have enough and they also didn't know what was going on. Sparing a lot of other details during the day, I finally at 3:30 p.m. had to get to the band to their signing session that was contracted to them.
At that point, it's like, fuck
from the festival. Now, the one detail about the signing session that I should bring up is that we were originally scheduled for 5:30 p.m. for the band to go sit at the tables and meet fans and sign stuff. And our set time was at 6:45, and that's really close. That's not enough time. If they do a 45-minute signing session, that leaves the band a half hour. I didn't want to do that. So earlier in the day, I had asked the festival if we could move our signing time to 3:30, which they told us was absolutely no problem. They would update the signing times. They would, let the fans know they were going to make announcements. So when I finally got backstage to get the band to their signing, they got us transportation on time, which was great. And they take us all the way across the festival grounds behind the main stage. And they take us to this gated area. And they said, all right, here's your signing area. So go in there and we'll be back in a half hour to pick you guys up. And everything's cool. So I was like, okay. So I told the band to wait and I go in there. And there's 2 6-foot tables set up with just 2 little benches. And there's no security. There's one person there that seemed, I don't know if they were a volunteer or staff.
I'm picking up a common thread here.
They seemed to have no idea what was going on again. And they just said, hey, this is your signing area for the band. And there's people lined up. And I was like, okay, cool. We don't have security, so this is going to be kind of weird. So I told the band what was going on. I brought them in. I sat them down at 3:30 and they just started signing stuff. And I could tell very quickly that something awkward was going on and I didn't know what. But I realized, and one of the band members told me, they think we're somebody else. And I went out to the front and I looked and the festival had not changed any of the schedules. The people that were in line were actually waiting for another band. They had no idea that Electric Callboy was signing at all. People were expecting to get something signed by another band, and it was very awkward and weird.
That's super fucked up.
I tried to get a hold of the festival people to try and tell them what was going on, and nothing was... I wasn't getting responses. So after about 5-10 minutes, the band that was supposed to be signing showed up, and their representative from the festival honestly was a little rude, but I understand the situation and the confusion. This person went right up to one of the Electric Callboy band members and started talking to them while they were signing and was like, hey, what are you guys doing here? You shouldn't be here. And I grabbed this person. I said, hey man, talk to me. They're signing. What's going on? And he goes, no, I'm talking to him. And I was like, you talk to me. They're signing. What's going on? And he goes, well, I've got this band here. They're supposed to be signing right now, but your band's here. And then blah, blah, blah. And I was like, listen, dude, we talked to the person at the festival and they moved us to this time. And they were like, oh, nobody told me that, so I apologize, and they were cool about it. Meanwhile, the other band that was supposed to be signing is just standing off to the side, very confused, and I felt bad because nobody knew what was going on, and I finally just made the call because of how awkward and weird it was to just grab my guys, Electric Callboy, and say, yo, let's go. Let's go. Let's let this other band sign. They were supposed to be here. Nobody from the festival relayed this information. It was just a very awkward situation. So I get them, I take them back to the dressing rooms behind the stage and kind of got in touch with my production manager and was like, hey, are you guys good? Are you finally loaded? Because he was up at the buses with all the gear and he goes, nope, no flatbed up here, no truck with flatbed, no forklift, no stagehands, no nothing. We're just sitting up here waiting. So I got a hold of somebody at the festival, told them what was going on. We needed somebody and they're like, yeah, we'll get somebody down there. And sorry, I'm gonna take a drink really quick.
Man, this is a lot. I don't know if this would drive me ape shit.
Anyways, they were just sitting up there, like 3 or 4 of my crew guys, just sitting up there, like not knowing what was going on. And the festival was telling me it's being taken care of. We're sending somebody up there. I stayed down with the band because we had more media scheduled. We were actually supposed to do, like, I was supposed to take them to a meeting, well, not a meet and greet, but like an interview with Mark from Cardivox Academy on YouTube that a lot of you guys know. And I texted Mark and I was like, dude, there's so much craziness going on. I don't think we can do this. Like, I don't think I'll be able to meet up with you with the guys. Like, this is just too much. And he finally, Mark was nice enough to be like, dude, I get it. It's crazy here. I'm not going to repeat everything he said because that's his business. If he wants to tell you guys, that's cool. But we canceled that. And then we canceled 2 other things we had planned because just nobody knew what was going on.
This fucking insanity.
So at about 4 o'clock, I finally call my production manager on the radio again. And I said, are you guys taken care of? Is anybody up there? The answer again was no. Nobody knew what was going on. No stagehands, no flatbed, no forklift. Half of our gear had already made it to the stage, but the rest was still sitting at the buses. And we're at a point now where we've got 2.5 hours until our showtime, and there's a lot that's involved. You know, the techs have to work on stuff. They need to set up risers. They need to set up monitor worlds, front of house audio worlds, lighting stuff. So I spent the next hour basically calling everybody from the festival I could, even the production manager that I advanced with. And he just said, oh no, you know, the stage manager on your stage is taking care of it. So I talked to the stage manager. He has no idea. And what I started realizing in that moment was that every single fucking thing that I advanced with that festival never got relayed to anybody. So I realized that the staff at the festival was basically flying blind. The stage manager had no advances on anything. The stagehands that were there, which was not many of them, I only saw maybe like 4 or 5 all day. And at a festival like that, you usually have like a dozen per stage. Nobody knew what was going on. They didn't know what the bands had. I started realizing
at that point, it's like,
all of the
do I just
festival staff
nut up
and
and just
hospitality
get
and
it done, or do we just pull
they were
out?
all completely stressed, and
leave?
It hit me that nobody has prepared these people for anything that's going on with this festival, and I felt so bad for them. I hold no animosity whatsoever to the festival staff here that was like on the ground working. It was complete chaos. Finally, at like 5:15, they finally sent a forklift and a flatbed up to our buses where our production manager was, and they started bringing down video carts. And our video carts are huge. They're like 8 foot long by 3 feet deep by 6.5 feet tall. They weigh 1,500 pounds each, and we have 3 of them.
Oh, fuck.
And this festival had no straps for their flatbed trucks. And they told us, oh, you know, just have a couple of your guys ride in there and hold onto them on the back of a flatbed truck for a 1.5-mile drive over bumps and cable ramps and all that. So our production manager said, we're going to try this. I'm down at the stage trying to organize what the hell is going on with everything. And at one point, our production manager radioed me and said, we're stopping this truck and I need a medic. And I found out that the one stagehand they sent us almost got crushed by one of the carts because it was on a flatbed, not strapped in. One of them actually did like smash our production manager's leg, and he was injured and couldn't walk for a while. And we just decided to park that truck where it was and forklift the carts to the stage. And we eventually did that.
At that point, I just grabbed the band, be like, boys, we're out. We're gone.
Meanwhile,
we gotta
the band is still sitting near the dressing room. No air conditioning, no nothing. They sat outside all day. Like the bands, and not just Electric Callboy, the other bands. Like they were just sitting outside all day. Like, again, barely any catering, no water around, no drinks, no nothing. They were sitting out there from like 11 in the morning until, showtime. And I realize as I'm saying this, a lot of people that are watching are like, yeah, but do you know what's going on with the fans? Yes, I do. I walked the grounds. Dude, I'm sorry for any of you that were at Blue Ridge Rock Fest. I walked the grounds, and what I saw was like, it was unbelievable. I believe they let in too many people. Just from me looking, I would guess that. I saw trash piles about 7 feet tall all over the festival grounds. Like they had no sanitation crews taking out garbage. From what I understand, from what I was hearing from people that were there, they had nobody cleaning out porta potties. Porta potties were overflowing. There was barely enough water for anybody at the festival. There were people just
seems
taking
like
spots in the shade wherever they could.
This entire festival just shit the bed.
Horrendous. Like, this was absolutely horrendous that people paid their hard-earned money and traveled from all over the world to go to this festival.
It's like Woodstock
and they were
'99 all over
treated
again.
like just like scum. Like, it was embarrassing for me to see that, how the fans were treated. I also understand that they weren't letting people in. People paid extra money to get shuttles from like the campgrounds and the parking to the stages, and they were school buses. I don't know how many they had, but definitely not enough to carry the people there. I saw messages from people online that said that they waited outside for hours and hours and hours and still never got let into the festival. And then the people that were in there, again, had to endure with not enough water and trash mountains and fucking porta potties overflowing. I mean, it was horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So we finally, just skipping over a few things, we finally got all of our gear to the stage at about 6 o'clock. And at that time, there was another band on, and they had some wind pickup, and they put our stage on a standby until the wind died down. But there was no rain, there was no thunder, lightning, there was no storms. It was just wind, and that delay lasted for like 15 minutes. They finally let the band before us finish their set, and when they did, we were on our changeover. During our changeover, again, I realized that the staff there had no idea what we were using. Like, the stage manager was like, "You guys have video cards? Nobody told us this." And that starts at the top with production management. Again, I felt so bad for the stage manager on our stage, which was stage 4. He was a very awesome guy, completely defeated and overwhelmed. Like, I felt so bad for the guy because he was just thrown to the wolves, man. He had no idea what was going on. Our crew absolutely crushes. Electric Callboys crew is one of the best crews I've ever worked with. They're phenomenal people. They got that show set up in like 20 minutes. In the normal time it takes us, we usually load in our shows at 10 a.m. and sound check it, 2. So 4 hours of setup time. They did it in 20 minutes. So, it's just mind-blowing. And then we get our video carts set up on stage, and we take our power distro out, power distribution, because you have to power lighting and video and stuff like that. And the electrician on the stage was like, no, we can't do this. We don't have power for you guys. You guys didn't advance this. To which I responded, the fuck I didn't, because I can take a lot of heat, but when somebody accuses me of not doing my job, I don't dig that. And I apologized to him because I realized, like, I didn't mean to really swear at him. I was like, he goes, "Nobody told us." And I was like, "I get it. I realize it now. Nobody told you anything, but like, we advanced to this." So he told us he had no power, which meant we could not use our video for our set. Luckily, one of the bands on our stage that was playing after us, I happened to know some of their crew. They were nice enough to let us tie into their power so we could use our video. We had to run a bunch of separate cables everywhere. Our lighting director, who's also a production manager, had to run to front of house. And it was the first time all day he had seen the house lighting console. No programming, no nothing. Just
this whole thing is
on
fucked.
The board, literally at the start of the show. It was crazy. We somehow used like all of our stuff. The video wall. We didn't use our lighting package that we would normally use because we just didn't have time or power or anything like that. But I will say, the show was great. The crowd was insane for these guys. I'm happy with the response they got for their first U.S. festival. And I will say the band put on a great show and they enjoyed it. After they got done, they went back to the dressing rooms and we found out that the air conditioning was finally fixed back there. And they did have catering up for dinner. So people were able to eat and stuff like that, but it was still hard to find like water and stuff like that. And then for our loadout for the crew, it's the same thing as the inn, man. Nobody knew what was going on. My plan was to get us out of there. Like, we finished our set at like 7:50 in the evening. I figured we could get out of there by 10:30 because we had that long drive, and I had my drivers back at about 9:30. And it was the same thing. Nobody knew where to get a flatbed to crossload. Nobody knew where to find a forklift. So we sat there for about 2 hours before we even knew what was going on. They finally, at some point, I found a golf cart backstage and just asked somebody, "Can you take my band back to the buses, please?" About half the band left. But I had to just start calling every phone number that I had and being like, "Guys, we need a flatbed and a forklift down here." And I found out that they only had like one flatbed truck and forklift for like the entire fucking festival, 40 bands a day.
Wow.
It's just crazy. Insane logistics. So the band, the crew guys finally started their loadout maybe at like 9:30, something like that. We had to take multiple trips. We were able to
kudos to y'all. You got the show done.
Up,
but at what cost?
Drove up and to start loading where our buses were, again, like a mile and a half away. And at one point, our agent, the booking agent for Electric Callboy, texted me and said, "How bad is it there, really? I've been hearing a lot of stuff." And I'm like, "This is fucking horrible, dude. This is a step above Fire Festival." And I only say that because bands actually played. And he goes, "Well, I'm going to send the promoter of the festival to talk to you, and I want you to be honest with him and tell him, what's going on." So at some point, the promoter for the festival, John, I can't remember his last name, but it's all over the internet. Like, everybody knows who it was, so I have no problem saying it. He came to our bus, and he's like, "Hey, man, I was told you wanted to talk to me. I wanted to see how your day went." And I told this guy straight to his face, "Dude, I have been touring for almost 17 years. Actually, probably about 17 at this point. I've never encountered a more unprofessional, unorganized, unsafe festival in my entire life. Not only for the bands, but for the crew, for your staff at the festival on site, and especially for the fans." This guy actually looked shocked. He looked surprised. He was like, "Man, I don't get it. Like, we hired the production staff from Sick New World, big festival, to handle all this because they know what they're doing and they know how this stuff goes." And I was like, "Well, I have no reason not to believe that, but I just don't, because these people had no fucking idea what they were doing." I don't know if that production team third party contracted it out to other people. I don't know what happened. I don't know why production didn't relay things to their stage managers, to the staff that was on the ground. I don't know. I wish
I doubt you
I can
will,
get
to be
answers.
honest
Maybe
with you.
after
You
this
can
video
get
or something,
answers.
we get answers, but I don't know what it was. And he's like, "Dude, I took over this festival trying to change it, and we sunk millions and millions of dollars into this to make sure that it was running correctly." And I was like, "Dude, you can't just write a check at something and expect it to work. You have to have the right staff." And they did not have the right staff. Everything about this festival was fucked from the get-go. It was absolutely horrible. And again, I just want to send my sympathies out to the actual festival staff that was there. They worked their asses off trying to help everybody, but they were given no information. They were given no help at all. At one point, I started thinking to myself, I'm like, God, these people are working so hard. They've been here since probably 5 a.m. They're probably not going to go back to a hotel, if they even have a hotel, until 3 a.m. I don't know how people are sleeping. I don't know how people are eating, surviving. Like, it's mind-blowing. So to the festival staff that was at Blue Ridge, excluding the production crew, thank you guys, if you ever see this, for working as hard as you did. Like, I don't know how you guys did it.
I mean, he needed to hear it.
And I just told this guy how bad it was. And at one funny point in the conversation, I will say this was kind of funny. Sorry, Snooze. This has been going on for a while. I'll try and wrap this video up quick. At one point in the conversation, the festival promoter looked at me and said, "Are you the roadie that has the YouTube channel? Are you Tank the Tech?" I said, "Yes." I could see it in his face immediately. Like, he didn't even have to say anything. I saw it in his face, like, oh, fuck. Like,
I'm fucked.
He was like, "Dude, I like your channel. I've seen it." But I know in that moment he realized, like, this guy might say something. And originally I was not going to. Because like I said, it is very taboo sometimes for people in the industry to talk about things like this. But here's the thing. I don't work for Electric Callboy full time. I'm just tour managing this North American tour. And I feel as though people should be held accountable for this, and that's why I'm talking about this. Again, this was the most unorganized, unprofessional, unsafe production I've ever been a part of in my entire life touring. I can't speak for any of the other bands because I don't know how it was on other stages. Like we were not on the main stage. I don't know how it was, for bands like Slipknot and Danzig that were there the same day. But I do have friends. I do have friends in a lot of camps that were on the other stages. I heard a lot of the same things from other people. you know, I did thank the promoter. I was like, dude, thank you for having us. You know, it's just, this doesn't work. This didn't work. This is a horrendous shit show. It is an absolute dumpster fire. And you guys should be embarrassed for putting this on. Those were my exact words. And I found out that this promoter is the promoter for some other festivals that are great festivals in the US, like metal and rock productions. So I don't understand how that happened. The only thing I can think of is that the production
that's what I'd imagine. I'd imagine it's probably the production staff that dropped the ball
and everything. That's the only thing I can think of. Because again, the people that were working on
the
the ground,
manager over all the productions,
the stagehands, the catering people,
he's probably
backstage,
the one that dropped the ball.
Hospitality, the artist relations people, the vendors, they were trying their hardest, and I appreciate them. And it just, they were thrown to the wolves.
And I know what it feels like to be that helpless.
They had no support, no help, no nothing.
It's fucked up.
So finally we get loaded out at, we had to take multiple trips with the flatbed and everything to our trailers, which were again a mile and a half away. I had planned on getting us out of there by 10:30. We finished at 12:30 in the morning, which meant our drivers for our buses had been sitting for 3 hours, just doing nothing, which is horrible in this industry. You don't want your drivers there too early. They need to drive. They need their rest. Yeah, man, like there's no after show food, no hospitality. I mean, basically our band and crew went an entire day without fucking eating or drinking anything.
That's so fucked.
I'm not looking for sympathy from people because this happened to everybody there, not just us. It happened to all the bands, it happened to the fans, the staff that was there. It was just, I want to release this video and erase this day from my brain, dude. Like, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you saw I posted a picture that our tour photographer took of me smoking a cigarette. I don't smoke. Like, I was so stressed that day that you guys know how I'm sober and my sobriety means a lot to me. I was so stressed that day. I was so
that's
close
so
to being
bad.
Like, fuck it. Like, I'm drinking tonight. I don't give a fuck. But that's the old me. I knew that's not an option. So instead, I had a fucking cigarette. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just that stereotype that, oh, a cigarette will calm my nerves, but it was terrible and disgusting and I didn't like it. But it's just, dude, I feel like I'm reliving a nightmare right now just talking about this. I want to forget this and just erase it from my memory because it was horrendous. And the Electric Callboy crew themselves, they don't complain about anything, dude. They're the hardest working, nicest people I've ever met. Head down, get the job done at any cost. And I could see it in their faces how just defeated they were on this day.
Fair.
Not the first American festival experience they were hoping for. You know, I heard from them, they're like, dude, festivals like this in Europe would be shut down. This is unsafe, unsanitary, unprofessional, unorganized. And it was just bad all around. So the next day, when I saw that Blue Ridge Festival was canceled due to weather, I was like, no fucking way. I looked at the radar immediately. And there was no weather in that area at all.
Yeah, they canceled it because of weather.
Because it was
it was raining shit.
I talked to some friends that were there on that Saturday, and I was told that a lot of the festival staff had walked off. Said, no, we're not doing this anymore. They left. The festival is blaming the weather for the cancellation for everything. Maybe that first day with the storms was what made everything go sideways.
It was not the reason.
Maybe say weather was a reason, but it was not the reason. The reason this festival canceled is because it was an utter shit show from the day it started getting planned. That's my opinion from what I experienced. But I want to wrap this up because, to be honest, man, I'm a little burned out of talking about this. Bad. I don't even want to think about it anymore because it was the worst day of touring I've ever had in my entire life. Like I said, I feel as though I understand the bands are in a weird spot talking about this because they have future business with promoters and nobody wants to think that if they don't have a good time, they're going to talk about it. But people need to be held accountable in this business. I'm so fucking tired of things happening where nobody has any accountability. People just are like, whatever, rock and roll, just fuck. No, fuck that, dude. The fans were treated horribly. The crews were treated horribly.
Facts.
The staff, the bands. Nobody should have to experience this ever. And if nothing else from this video, I just want people to be aware. And I want you to know, like, if I'm on tour, I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm going to talk about this stuff because people...
For sure. But we're going to pause it right there because I could tell he's starting to wrap it up. And I think he's kind of hit the climax of his point there. Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, honestly, if I was his tour manager, like, I know you got obligations and all that shit to kind of hit, but fuck it, man. At what point does the safety and the well-being of your band and crew become more important than fulfilling a concert obligation? Like, if it's that big of a shit show, I'd have probably just pulled them out and said, screw it, let's go. Like, I mean, I understand it was one of those situations where you can't blame the fans or you can't punish the fans because the fans are going through it as well. You can't punish the staff on the ground because they're going through it as well. But at the end of the day, man, the safety of my guys are more important than anything. The safety and well-being. And if they've been outside all day, just dehydrating, sitting in the sun and all that shit, man, sometimes you just got to cut bait and cut loose. But anyways, so that was our special react video for today. I hope you all have an amazing evening, night, day, whatever it is, wherever you are. My name's Tom Quiet from Live and Amplified, and we will see you all later.